All right. Here we go. Little Wednesday night action in the PGA straights here at Stokastic. Let's talk Charles Schwab Challenge. It's not a major, but there's money up for grabs. It's a decent field. It's a great course. And got the dream team here. I'm Ben Rasa. Geoff Ulrich's in the house. Jordan Klein is behind the glass. All of you guys in chat, I see you ready to rock. We're going to answer all your questions. We're going to build some lineups. We're going to show off some tools. Hopefully, we're going to make some money. How are you feeling? We were talking before the show about all sorts of things, including the NHL playoffs. How do you feel post PGA Championship?
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was pretty deflated. Obviously,
Yes.
if you were big on Brooks Koepka and you had invested there, you're feeling great, you're flying high. But I was not one of those people, and it's not that I wasn't a disbeliever in Brooks either. I certainly could have envisioned him winning the way he exactly did. It just wasn't necessarily the route that I took for myself. So, it was a little deflating. It was just one of those events where you wake up. It wasn't even close. It was just like you wake up and like 80% of the top players were just like dead. Like it was one of the weirdest. I've seen every single major championship over the past almost decade, and I've seen the toughest courses. I don't think I ever remember waking up and seeing so many guys just absolutely shit the bed in the first four holes. Xander, Finau. There Cantlay. Like Cantlay was okay for a bit. I don't think he was. Like, these guys were just done so quickly. And yeah, some of them grinded back to respectability, but with Brooks and Bryson and Scheffler out in front, they were never really in it. So deflating week from that perspective. But it just is what it is. You've got to play the course. Probably underestimated how tough the course was actually going to play and how specific a skill set you needed. You needed to be Bryson, you needed to be Brooks. And, if you didn't have that kind of just, grinded out huge ball flight, it was just impossible. So, yeah, interesting week.
Oh, it was definitely interesting. I thought that Hovland really represented himself well in pressure on Sunday. He did not lose. He caught the bunker that Connors did as well, but he made a lot of key putts. He made a lot of key moments, and Brooks is really good. There's nothing for me to say. All my players were like 4 over and then 6 over, and then it was just like, oh, okay. I underestimated how hard the course was going to play. I really don't know what else happened though. It's just tough golf. When you're playing in those type of conditions, obviously it's very difficult. We saw some guys, Cam Davis types really hang in there. There were some names that I thought represented themselves really well, but at the end of the day, Brooks, big time names made big time performances. Or you could be blocked. That's true. Michael, whatever this guy's name is.
We'll get to Michael Block this week.
Sure. Why not? Even though it was a major, honestly, I don't have a ton of like big takeaways. No. Most of the good players played well. A lot of good players didn't have it, and that's not relevant to Charles Schwab. You can, off a miscut, you can win here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one thing, right? I think that part of the thing is it was a tough course, but I also just feel like the course was just set up in the quirky way that, a lot of it just didn't jive with a lot of players. I think that does have something to do with it. So to me, it even the results last week mean even less. Sure, if a player played well, like you said, Cam Davis, Kitayama, hanging in there, showing something. It's good. We've seen good things from both those players, especially Cam Davis of late, third top 10 and in 5 starts, career best major finish. Kitayama coming from the clouds. He's a player, man. Like I think actually Kurt Kitayama is someone you need to remember for the US Open that's going to be played out in LA. He's a West Coast guy, but a lot of players here, like I think those results are just, it's pretty easy to just scrub, do the Men in Black thing and move on.
I hear you. Yeah. There's really not a ton else. It's different type of golf. I think you kind of keep it in its own bucket and you don't take a ton, but we move on. That's the beauty of it. And let's move on. Let's talk about what we got going on here, starting with Rainmakers. I know a lot of you talked to some people who said they claim their starters pack. They're looking at some of these contests. There's a ton out there in the lobby. Again, the free Rainmakers pack, it's in the link below. The description is there. 275,000 in contest prizes this week. Go in there. You can compete. It's a different style. It's unsolved. I know a lot of people who have really devoted time to it, and it's paying dividends. So if you look to get involved, always step one, get the free stuff, then see what you want to do. I want to give DK Rainmakers a shout out for that. Claim that pack below. Now, again, as we look at this course and we look at what's going on, we've got a lot to break down. It is Colonial, and I think that that's awesome because they've been at this course for like 75 years in a row or something. And we know it. To me, first thing I want to lead with, and I'm going to pass it to you right now, it seems like people who play well at Colonial play well at Colonial, and that is a repetitive thing.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's its own quirky course in itself, right? Like the fairways are tight. There's a lot of little dog legs. And I mean, it's one of those courses where I do think course knowledge is a big thing. You rarely see people come in here and win. There's an interesting stat that was on Twitter. I was either today or yesterday that this course has seen, I think the last time a first-time winner won at Colonial was Sergio Garcia. And I'm not talking about like first time coming to Colonial, but like a first-time winner on the PGA. So it kind of gives you an idea of, you know, players who are veterans who already know how to manage their way around a course properly. They're usually the ones that come here and get it done. And I think that does bear out in just what a lot of what you see. It doesn't mean that we can't have like an elite player win, obviously, but yeah, course history. This is definitely one of the courses where I look at it, I consider it. I'll definitely weigh it when I'm looking at players. Actually, like had an interesting, you know, like where I was building a lineup and there was 2 players left and one of them had results here and one of them didn't, and everything else was equal. And I'm like, kind of like the other player at first, but then you look at the course history and you're like, man, like now it's tougher. So yeah, you know, good correlation with courses like the Valspar, in my opinion, Copperhead, Harbor Town as well. Those are 2 courses that really pop off. Wahiley Golf Country Club as well, but those first 2 for me are probably the 2 biggest.
Yeah, I mean, you know, kind of what you need to do here. It's very difficult to overpower. You've got the bent grass. You got to be technical. You're gonna have a ton of it. Last week, I thought we talked a lot about you're gonna have some wedges and you're gonna have a ton of 200+ yard iron shots. This week is almost the inverse. You're gonna be laying up to targets, you know, 125 to 175, and everyone, no matter whether you're a mega bomber or a really short hitter, you're going to be hitting in that bucket of irons more often than not. So you need it, but I think it's shown a lot of different types of players can thrive here, but I like that it doesn't exclude people that are weak with the driver. You can get away with it at Colonial, and I kind of like that. Is there anything else? I mean, wind, weather, I don't see really anything on that front this week, do you?
No, not really. I think if anything, like the results last year, 9 under winning score was really tough here. Like as going back and thinking, just going back in the old memory bank about this course and what happened here last season. I remember like Harold Varner III was it. I also remember me having like 3 guys in contention and then not winning, getting a win. That was fun. But Harold Varner III, like 5 putted, like the greens here were just dried out. So little bit interested to see if it plays as tough. My first inclination is it won't because there isn't like a bunch of wind, but it is hotter. If it does dry out, you know, we could just see it get really tough on going into Sunday. I'm not sure if that really leads you to anyone else necessarily. You know, maybe the tee to green players a little bit, maybe you know, around the green specialists a little bit more. But if it plays a little bit easier, it'll definitely bring a little bit more of the pack in. You know, those guys who can just get hot with their irons and putters. So something to think about. I'm of the opinion that you don't need to worry about it too much. It should play a little bit easier, probably like 14, 15 under is what I'd kind of expect. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw like 17 under if the conditions are right too either. So
you can go low. There's no doubt there's going to be guys who can score. And this is what we've been doing before we dive into the top tier. Let's build. Let's get an initial build out there. We're going to use our lineup generator again. You're brand new. We've got it. We launched it. It was first for NBA. Now we've got it for baseball and we have it for PGA. It's such a simple, easy, effective way to build some lineups. You go in here, you select all your filters from DraftKings, tournaments. You've got all that type of stuff, and you're going to get options for different types of builds, whether you go contrarian or balanced. For me, I like to go balanced on some of these. And then you can lock someone in. And in this case, I think I want to see what the Scheffler lineups look like. He's going to be super popular. What does it look like if you lock Scotty Scheffler and start generating lineups? We're going to find out in literally 10 seconds because this is how easy it is. You're going to have a lot of these lower, and I already see it on the screen, lower 7K guys peppered around him. Hostin, and you see Griot, Hodges in the 6Ks, Lucas Bear, that actually is a name. And of course, with these tools, you don't like some of these guys, sub them out, discard them. Our ownership is in there. Our projections are in there. It is that simple. Try this out. It's in the description. Register, get involved. It's a great way to make lineups. And we're giving you half off that first week. 50% off. You click in it and you are in for the PGA lineup generator. Really, really good stuff. And I guess, Jeff, it kind of leads me in. Feel free to take it wherever, but Scotty Scheffler is going to be crazy popular this week.
Yeah, no, perfect storm with Scheffler on everyone's mind. Top 5. I mean, just played well in Texas. He's from Texas. Was runner up should have won this event last year. He really should have won it.
Yes.
And he's in a weaker field where there's no Rahm, no Rory, there's no Xander, no Cantlay. There's not even, like our second tier starts with Finau, who's coming off a 15 over weekend. Hovland, sure, but Scheffler's ownership is going to potentially set some records, I think, right now. And so, using the lineup generator, because, again, like you're multi-entering, you're going to have Scheffler lineups. If you don't,
oh yeah.
I mean, look, I applaud you for being that brave, but if, you're probably going to have some Scheffler lineups one way or the other this week. I love that tool because right off the bat, it shows you what ranges you're going to need to target, that low 7K range. There's some guys I really like there, and they're going to be low owned too. So, and you don't have to play all of the low owned one, but they're going to pair well with Scheffler when you're making Scheffler lineups. So you use the lineup generator, you get a good idea of what needs to be done. Then you can just, swap them out, as Ben said, however many lineups you're making. So Scheffler, I mean, again, in terms of how you're playing him this week, it's actually going to be hard to get over the field on him if you're doing like 100 lineups, like multi-entry. So not hard that you can't do it, like that you can't just put him in you can put him in as many lineups as you want, but like the combos are going to be tougher, and you're going to be skipping more and more players the more lineups you make. So as much as I do like him, I mean, like for big fields, I think that there's enough names down below where, being more just kind of level with the field makes sense. That I've got enough love for players underneath him that certainly we can make some builds without him, and I think feel pretty good about it at the very least. So
yeah, the only thing I'll add, I've been doing this a lot with lineup generator. If I don't like Scheffler, I'll lock him and generate the lineups to see what is my competition in small fields probably going to look like. Like, okay, it's going to be a lot of Scheffler and low 7K guys. So like, where's my leverage when I build? You get a good idea of what a lot of people's lineups are going to look like, even if you don't want to go there. I think that's actually an underrated thing to use. So we've got Scheffler. He's going to be crazy popular. I wouldn't fault anybody for going to him in the top tier. He's the best player here. He's inside 5-1 to win the tournament. But it's not a bad field. Finau, Hovland, Morikawa, and Homa, all are 10K North options. Hovland played great. Finau might as well had not made the weekend. Morikawa was fine. He kind of, in my mind, almost wasted a decent putting performance. And Homa is an enigma. So I don't know what to do with him. Where are you drawn outside of Scheffler?
I do like Morikawa this week. I know that the narrative with him is he can't putt. He looks uncomfortable. What's going on? But at some point, like, you've just got to go with the quality here. As you mentioned, I mean, what was he at the Masters? He was T10. He was fine last week. The putter gained them strokes last week. I mean, at some point, like, he's going to putt well again. He is, and when he does, he's going to win because he's calling Morikawa. Don't forget that, like, just like you people forgot, like me with Brooks, this is a dude who really, like, goes after it when he's in contention. And I have no problem going after him in this field. I really don't. Hovland after the major, it was a tough spot for him at the RBC. I think it's going to be tough again being in contention coming to this course. Completely different setup. It's not that he can't do it, but a little bit more finicky around the greens here. Certainly no one would fault Hovland if he just had a slow week after being in contention. Finau has interest. He's played well here. I don't think I can get that performance out of my mind. I really don't. He was so lost. Seeing him just bounce back that quickly, it's tough to envision. I have some interest in Homa too, who's a good wedge player. His approaches have been a little bit down, but his putting's been good. So I would probably say like Homa is the second favorite for me. I do like Morikawa though. I think this is a week you step it up and you take a shot with him. I like him for betting. If you can get a decent number, he finished. He lost the playoff here to Daniel Berger. This is a technical track. This is what we generally call a pretty solid setup for Colin Morikawa.
I have no problem with him either. Bent grass is probably the best we're going to get in terms of the surfaces for him. He just putted on it and he putted fine. I would sign for, basically one stroked game putting for this week. I don't know what to do. Hovland was like just stupid with his irons. It was incredible what he did at the PGA.
Yeah.
I still think it's the toughest ask of anyone north of 10 for him to maintain it. I think this is there are no bad courses for a guy that good, but this is not the ideal course in my mind when I think of what Hovland can do. I don't know what to do with Tony Finau. He was terrible with his putting and he crashed his irons, which he hadn't lost strokes on the approach since August of 2022. So I partly think it's an anomaly. And I also think that it was just not good in a lot of iterations. I have some of him. I'm comfortable. I like Morikawa the best, but I'll be honest. I think you could omit some of this and go even more balanced. I'm going to loop in the rest of the top tier right now. You've got Jordan Spieth. You've got Sam Burns. You thought Tony Finau was bad, and he was. What do you call Sungjae Im last week? Because, he was down there with the guys, Michael Block's friends. With the, he was truly lost. Him and Burns were like 30 over combined.
Yeah, Jesus, Burns was awful too. So, certainly any of these players could bounce back. I have a little bit more time for Sungjae for sure. I do like him this week.
I bet him.
Yeah, I did too. Like, this is to me, like when we're looking at Sungjae Im, this is a really good setup. You look at the courses he's won: Tough Par 70, Honda, Shriners, kind of just target golf, exactly where Kevin Na also played well. I think this is a beautiful setup for Sungjae Im. And you look at Im, and Im and Burns, but especially Im for me. Im got off to a good start. He actually was like 1 under for like 6 holes. Then things went backwards. Things just when you're playing a course that difficult and so quirky and you don't like it, it's really hard to get the wheels turned around. And I think that's what happened to Sungjae. And you know what? I'm happy that he just called it a week at Friday.
Oh, because yeah.
I think it's more detrimental to your game this week to go out there and hack it around like Finau did for an extra 2 rounds, whereas Sungjae's done after Friday. He's moved on. He's moved on 2 days earlier than Finau, and now we're at a course where I think it suits him perfectly. So, yeah, I definitely have time for Sungjae. I know he's going to be up there in ownership too, but Burns is interesting. Sam Burns. Here's the thing with Burns. I'm not like the recent form doesn't look good, but this potentially the second most owned player in this field is going to be Jordan Spieth. And I get why people like Spieth. And I'm already setting myself up for this to be a Spieth week and me make no money again. But Spieth may have like 5 times the ownership of Burns this week. That's too much. Like, do you really think Jordan Spieth is 4 or 5 times more likely to win the event than Burns, who won this event last year? I don't think so. So Burns to me is like the very interesting pivot play down there. If you're doing like you mentioned, Ben, and you want to start these ultra balanced lineups, for GPPs, I would take the leverage with Burns. I really would. I think Sungjae is a lock, not a lock to do anything, just like for DFS, he's a good value and you should play him. But I think Burns is the real kind of pivot. No one's going to play him after shooting 15 over, but he's in the same kind of wheelhouse as Sungjae here. So really interesting ownership dynamics there. Spieth's going to have a ton. Burns is going to have nothing.
Couldn't agree more. Not even to say that I like Sam Burns. Just if you want the leverage, it's going to be Homa and it's going to be Burns. I think that's not really up for debate. Everyone else is going to garner pretty significant ownership. Scheffler is going to be the most popular player. Everyone else is going to be pretty reasonably popular in this upper range, as they normally are. And even a guy like Justin Rose, who's the next player on the list, him and Fleetwood are going to garner, that between 10 and 20% ownership, probably between 15 and 20% when you really look at it.
Yeah,
I'm fine with them. I mean, I know he never wins. He always frustrates me, but then at the end of the week, I look at my lineups and it's never Tommy Fleetwood's fault. Exactly. He's just like, he did what he needed to do.
Yeah.
He's gained strokes in every category in 3 straight events. That's ridiculous.
Someone tweeted me, because look, of course I bet Fleetwood. I'm not going to.
Yeah, I bet him every week.
But someone tweeted me, why do people like Fleetwood this week? He's gained like over 6 strokes tee to green in 7 straight starts. He's got like multiple top 5s. He was T20 at the PGA. Why do people like Ricky Fowler this week, who just missed the cut, and you're getting on Tommy Fleetwood? We can talk about Fleetwood and everyone bets him and he gets talked up too much. He's a really solid player and he's playing really, really well right now. And he's 9,200. The floor seems extremely good. And the upside, I think there's still upside to be had. He hasn't gone crazy with the putter yet, but the putter's been good. It's not holding him back. He sank some putts last week. Look, I'm going to keep riding. I mean, I'm not going to get off him because a few people think that, we shouldn't be talking about Tommy Fleetwood anymore. He's playing really, really good. He's won against big fields before. If he's ever going to get it done, it is going to be at an event like this. I don't think it's going to be like a super highly elite event. If he's going to win a regular PGA Tour event, it's the perfect kind of spot. And look, played well at the Honda Classic before, another tough par 70. So yeah, he's absolutely fine in this range. And, you don't have to play him. He's got a little bit of ownership attached to him, but certainly if you're looking in this range, there's nothing wrong with going to him.
So I think there might be something wrong with what I've been doing, which is betting Tommy Fleetwood every week, because you are paying for it until he wins. In DFS, nothing is it's not like, oh man, he's going to eventually pay me off. He's been fine. You're not getting punished while you do this. Like the betting, I get it. If you've been betting outrights with him, you're saying, man, he may eventually win, but am I even going to get it all back at this point? On DFS, he's one of the more reliable plays each and every week. I love him in all formats. That's why you got to
get those each ways on Bet365, Ben, because they keep you afloat.
The Fleetwood, but somehow he eludes me no matter what I do. If I bet him top 20, he comes in 26th. If I bet him top 10, he comes in 15th. If I bet him top 5, he comes in 8th. And if I bet him to win, he comes in 3rd. It doesn't matter. But he's been so good and so consistent, and this is a fine course for him. I love Tommy Fleetwood. He's going to be one of my most important players. Again, let's just round out the very top tier here. It's the bottom of it. I mean, Chris Kirk, this is an objectively good course for the way he plays with his irons, and you've got Siwoo as the last guy in the 9K range. I don't want to overshadow them because I think both make a lot of sense.
Absolutely, man. I mean, these are the kind of players who, they're not going to get a ton of talk, but these are players who win on these kind of courses. We're talking about players who actually win. Kirk wins on these kind of courses. He's got 5 wins. One of them came at Colonial. The other came at Honda. Siwoo, Sony. I mean, these are just good setups for player. Exactly. So, I got time for both. You want to go really balanced? Those are both names you need to be clicking and rostering, and I don't have a problem with either. I would probably say Siwoo is the slightly better upside play, but Chris Kirk is absolutely fine. I mean, loves this course. Just a really good setup for a player like Chris Kirk, who, his wedge is getting for him. If he finds his putting stroke, absolutely could happen. So yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you're going balanced. This is kind of the sweet spot. Regardless that, you don't even have to play Fleetwood. You can use both those guys, in my opinion, and avoid them if you really want.
You can definitely do that. You can also, I have lineups that start with Fleetwood and have a combination of some of these guys, some of the upper Kates, 8K range. I think that's a really reasonable way to build. Let's move to the mid-range, though. And yes, Morning with Blues, my man. Hit the like button, my friends. If you want to support us, easiest way to do it. We appreciate you guys. I know it's not a major, but we got a lot of people in here, and it's great to say. We're building it up. Again, links in the description. We'll talk about some things later, but there's plenty more golfers to get to in these balance builds, or these could be second man in for Scheffler. If you really go like Scheffler and I want to not land in the sixes, you probably have to cut out the nines. So keep that in mind. I think Scheffler Ricky combos will be pretty common. He leads us off Henley, McPutts, Cam Davis off the big week, Min Woo, Tom Hoagie. Ricky is in his own category. What do we do with Ricky? Everyone, including me, thought maybe the PGA was his true comeback story, and it was certainly not.
No, I mean,
No.
and obviously take it with a bit of a grain of salt. I mean, he he missed the cut by one stroke. He had a chance to make the cut on Friday and
Typical Ricky.
And bogeyed the last hole. So it's classic Ricky. But he's going to be popular again this week. I'm actually a little surprised at how popular he's going to be, but I guess that kind of speaks to the field that we're getting, that there isn't as many big names here, so people are fine paying 8,900 for Fowler. He's been good. I mean, I don't have a problem with it either. But I think Russell Henley's down there too. I don't know. I don't really know what to do with Ricky this week, to be honest. Like I want to like him, but at the same time, I feel like we're just going to get another kind of T25, which I guess is fine. But if you're looking like to really create pure upside lineups with Scheffler, like you said, I mean, we're talking like big GPP builds. I would probably try and avoid Ricky and Scheffler combos. I think for like a cash game or something like that, it's probably good. But I would be looking for kind of like a lower own. The other thing is, though, I don't love this range at all. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like the 8K range to me, outside of sprinkling in some Ricky, I don't even really have that much love for my guy Henley this week. I think Henley is probably an okay pivot, but I wouldn't like be rostering a ton of him, maybe just slightly over the field. I do like Denny. I just don't know where this price is coming from. Cam Davis is absolutely a name that you can use, but again, we got the major championship last week. I don't know how much he's spent there. Hogan, and then the rest of the guys are just like, even my guy Yager, it's going to be his 5th week playing. He kind of petered out on Sunday. Really worried about just his putting in general discourse. So I'm not really in love with this 8K range, to be honest. KH Lee's got a little bit of love for me, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's not a great range. I think Ricky's going to be fine. I think he's very solid. I think he's a pretty like generic vanilla play. I'd be pretty famous last words. I'd be pretty surprised if he defines your week. I think he's just going to be part of lineups. And if he pops, you're going to want him. And I think there's some chance that he has a hangover from a disappointing major, but I'm not worried about him. My bigger problem is what you said. What am I supposed to do here? I don't really like Henley. McPutts is fine. He can roll it. I thought he'd be like 4% owned and I would get easy over. He's going to be pretty popular relative to the range. Cam Davis. You mentioned KH Lee. I think that makes a lot of sense. Does Min Woo Lee, who could be the lowest owned of the entire 8K range, make sense? This guy, he's really tough to gauge. He shows flashes of brilliance, particularly at majors. And then you look at the stats and you're just like, how can I back a guy whose approach numbers are this bad?
Yeah. So, I mean, a couple things again. Yeah. I mean, just to answer Michelle's question for the 8K range for Davis, I mean, I think it's absolutely fine to, to use him and to potentially even be overweight. I mean, our ownership projections on him, just to give you an example, is around 12%. That's fine. I mean, I think Cam Davis has the upside to win this. So he's probably my favorite play, like in the mid range here. Absolutely. Tokyo Swan throwing out Billy Horschel. We'll get to that. That's interesting. Apparently went back to his old caddy, but to go to the question of Min Woo Lee, if this wasn't Colonial, I would have a lot more interest in Min Woo Lee this week. But he is an absolutely tough player to gauge. He lost strokes on approach again and finished top 20 at a big event again, strictly because this guy is apparently just a magician around the greens and with the putter. So take that into account. These are very different green structures. They're not as big. They're not as windy. They're more flat. I don't think this is a spot. I really just don't. He's got no experience. Actually, he may have played this event last year and missed the cut. It's not much experience to draw on either way.
Yeah, he did.
He did. So He has played it once, which I guess is actually a little bit of a bonus. So I'll draw it back a bit, but I still don't have like a ton of interest. I think if you're really in this range and you're just stuck with someone between like 8 and 85, I would probably go KH Lee first and then think about Minwoo Lee, sprinkling him in, because I can't deny the talent. I mean, the talent is there. I think this guy will pop like for a really big week, at an event like this where it's a weaker field. But Colonial, I don't think so. He's not what I'd call like an experienced course manager at this point. So
it's tricky. I think it's really just about what you're trying to accomplish. Like I believe that more often than not, Minwoo Lee is the most likely winner in his price range because he's got crazy upside and he's by far the most likely to miss the cut. So like if you're like, I'm looking to, I'm in the largest tournament, I don't really have any leverage. I think you can roll the dice with a guy like that, knowing what you're getting. If you like your lineup and you're saying, I just want someone to hold it together, I think he would be the worst play in this range. I would go to Cam Davis. I'd go to KH Lee. I know you just mentioned your boy. He's played a lot of golf, but he's been really solid tee to green. The putter flashed for 1 week at Byron Nelson, and then it went right back into the dumpster. I kind of just have to keep playing Jaeger. He's going to be popular, but I'm okay with him, and I'm okay with Taylor Moore again.
Yeah, Jaeger is. I mean, look, I don't really want to get off him, but again, like we can't play everyone. No. I think what I'm going to do is put a peace of mind bet on Jaeger tonight or something before I go to bed. Do something like that. But I actually honestly don't have that much of a problem skipping him. He's played this event a couple times, not really done too much. At the same time, like he's driving extremely straight right now. The irons have been a little bit up and down, but if they show up, he is a player who I have just a ton of respect for. So I absolutely think it's fine. It's fine to stay on Jaeger in this range. Taylor Moore, absolutely. I mentioned the Copperhead connection. I don't have a problem with that either. Harman is really interesting here. We talk about players potentially to win. Like I would actually throw Harman in there, probably second behind Minwoo. He really likes these kind of setups too, and Harman will bounce back with the putter in the short game really quickly. He's played well after majors before. He's just played well this course before. So a little bit of interest there. I think Minwoo and Harman are the real kind of like volatile guys who could get you like a top 6. I think if you're invested in Jaeger, you should stay on him. I think guys like Moore, KH Lee, just good floor guys. They probably won't ruin your week.
Same wavelength, but honestly, as we move to the second part of the mid-range, I have a lot more interest in the 7K range. We just talked about a bunch of guys, but these are guys that
here we go. This is where
it's going to get dangerous.
This is where we lose our money.
Again, these builds, you can go like 3 or 4 deep. Yes, and I have builds just like that. And it gets started with Benyon, like him. Kitayama, I like him. Brendan Todd, I know a lot of people like. It makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure how much I'll get. Bez, Grio, Smalley. I mean, we didn't even get to Herbert and Ryan Fox. We can do that in a second. The upper 7s is loaded with priorities for me.
This is the kind of week where because of the course, I hope Bez week would be good for me.
One time with him.
Just for the love of God. This is the kind of course where you could create an entire lineup for this range, and legitimately, I think you would have, if things roll right, you would have a shot. The scoring can be really bunched at Colonial, and all these dudes have experience. They have putting upside. The strokes game, the approach games have been good. They all set up as just kind of guys who could be lurking there on Sunday. And if you roster like 5 or 6 of them, it feels like you can just get a lineup of guys within like 4 of the lead on Sunday. So, and we've seen that. Like, I mean, the balanced kind of lineups that have won at Colonial, I mean, definitely wild in the past. So this is definitely a range to target. Ranking them is actually kind of tough to me. I would probably say the guy most likely for me to win in this range is English. I know you're not going to like hearing that, Ben, but he is the proven winner. Again, like we look at this range and we're like, Harris English wins at these events. He does. and he's been really close already. He gained 7 strokes on approach a couple events ago. He's actually, I think he's like second in strokes gained total of this course in the field or over the last 10 years. But I do like Bez a lot. I don't know what was going on with his putter last week, but this dude is becoming just locked in with his irons. And now we're at an iron course, a second shot course, where he's not going to have to get crazy off the tee. I think he'll be just fine in that regard. Really like this course and setup for Christian Bezuidenhout. And of course, Grillo, I mean, no problem there. I mean, absolutely no problem. Probably going to top 20. Like I said,
course.
I think English is the most volatile. I really do. I think Brendan Todd's probably going to make the cut. He might finish T8, he might finish T40, but solid play. And even Benny Ann. I mean, I'd probably rank him last out of these 5, but certainly got a little bit of love. He's just playing good golf all season. Kind of like Todd. He's not going to ruin your week. I'd be kind of surprised at this point if he did.
It's good. And the thing that's nice about this, it's like, okay, you just named like 5 guys. How can you get over on them? Because you can play 3 or 4 in lineups. It's not like the top where it's like, well, I can't play Scheffler, Finau, and home. Like, you got to make decisions. Here, you don't have to make as many decisions because you can easily group 2 or 3 of them in lineups. So I tried to play English last week, by the way. And of course, he lost strokes putting, which is like so typical. I play the guy, the luck box, and it doesn't work.
It's a lot of that going on, though. Like, Bez did it. English, and these guys didn't lose like a stroke putting. They lost like 4 strokes putting. So it just speaks to the course again. Like, these guys did not like the greens. I mean, just pretty
elite putters.
Yeah.
I mean, Bez sets up perfectly. I think he's my favorite of the bunch. I think that Grillo is the type of golfer I would know. Where courses that he likes, and his putter is not a liability as much as you would think lately. He should be fine. He really should. I know it's famous last words, but I like him. I want to bring one guy into the equation, though. I mentioned him at the very end. He's going to be sub 10%. Alex Smalley is playing really good golf. He has gained on the approach in 6 straight. He is dominating tee to green in the last couple. He topped 20 at Quail Hollow. He topped 25 at the PGA. This guy's just getting better. I know he's pretty volatile, but he was 27th here last year. I think that Alex Smalley is a really solid play in the mid-range.
He's 5th at the RSM Classic, too, which he kind of
got comp courses. He just checks a lot of boxes this week, and no one's going to, he's not going to be popular.
I mean, look, the biggest thing about Colonial is course management, experience, and then just obviously just being good with your irons. I mean, I think those are kind of the biggest things. The one drawback you'd say with Smalley is, does he have like a big putting weekend? I mean, he's done it before. He has gained like multiple strokes, so he doesn't do it often. But I mean, again, clearly a player who's gaining in confidence. So yeah, I mean, again, like, a lot of these players that we're talking about certainly will have ownership attached to them. They're not going to have a ton each because it's going to be spread, but I would look as the pivots. Bez and Grillo will probably be the most popular. English and Smalley, to me, would be like the pivots, the guys that you want lower ownership on. I think Smalley's got actually a better floor than English, to be honest.
I agree with that.
English has more upside, but I think Smalley's floor is really good this week. Absolutely.
As we work down, it's not that I don't like these guys, but I certainly don't have as much interest. Ryan Fox, I think, is pretty solid. Detry's there. Davis Riley, your boy. Hayden Buckley, Bo Hostler getting some ownership. Eric Cole is a very popular name.
Yep.
The lower sevens have plays. Not my favorite plays, but there are plays. Who kind of caught your eye down there?
Yeah. I mean, I like Ryan Fox, but at this time, I kind of feels like he's still finding his way on these regular PGA Tour venues. He kind of imploded at Valero where everyone liked him. RBC was a disaster after the Masters. There's better, lower owned plays in my opinion. Again, he's a good player. Like I got nothing against Ryan Fox. He's played well in majors too, but not for me. I'd actually rather play Herbert over him. Maybe even just go to Rogers. Actually, probably rather play Davis Riley over all of them, but you don't have to do that. There are some, this range is pretty easy for me because I like going down down in the low 7K range, if I'm being dead honest. Matthew Neesmith is another player, much like Alex Smalley. You need to kind of pay attention here. 4 made cuts in a row. He's gained strokes on approach and off the tee in 2 straight starts. Career best finish at a major last week. The putter is heating up. Neesmith, people probably forget, 3rd at Valspar was last, in 2022. He was 2nd at the Shriners. He's got good course comps. And I mean, he's just an elite iron player who's starting to play well. So this is a guy who's going to be like 2% owned. So Ben's already put it in the chat. We like Neesmith. I actually don't hate Sepp Straka either, to be honest.
No.
I think Straka's a better potential winner of this event. Like, he's got more win equity, but he's also, again, week after a major. I mean, this guy could be out of it by Thursday. I'm out of it by Monday. But yeah, so I like Neesmith down here. I also have time for Andrew Putnam. I know he'll have some popularity, but again, we talk about players who just play this course well. That's Andrew Putnam, man. He's got some good rounds on this course. He's been really good with his approaches of late. I don't care that he missed the cut at the PGA. I could not think of a worse course for Andrew Putnam than Oak Hill. So
legitimately, like, I actually thought he played pretty well. He gained strokes off the tee there, which was like 1 in a million.
Yeah.
He just couldn't. It's amazing. One of the bigger takeaways, and it's not all of them, but almost every like strong putter that's not an elite player struggled on the Oak Hill greens. He's another one that lost strokes.
And these greens, again, like, we're talking pretty flat. Like, this is where the good putters putt well. This is where like Harris English gains like strokes putting. This is where I'm just trying to think. There's a couple players who've like never lost strokes putting here. And they're all good putters. They're not like bad putters who like come here. They're really good putters. So, you know, this is just one of those courses where these guys can get in a real groove, pure bent grass greens, a little bit faster side, but again, really pure. And the good putters really like them. So you're going to see guys like Putnam just putt well. I virtually guarantee it. So
it's key. Let's move down. Let's get to the salary savers. Before we do, though, I do want to say, we talked about a lot of guys. You mentioned a couple, I'll call them life hedges. If you're betting, you also mentioned some each ways. Each ways, Bet365, that's what I always associate them. If you are in a legal betting state, particularly New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or Colorado, you have Bet365 available for you. They've got promos. You're going to take $10 right below. You're going to click that offer. You're going to bet $1, a single dollar. I'd recommend betting it on Bez, because even if you lose, you get $200 for your troubles in bonus bets. It's that easy. You got to be 21 plus. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But man, great opportunity for those 4 states. The link is below. You're in 2 seconds, and you are $200 richer for your troubles. You go to Scheffler. Even if you don't, there's a real chance you need someone sub 7K. I don't think you need to go to the depths.
Yep.
But you might need to go here. Now, I've got a couple guys right at the top. I think Nate Lashley makes a lot of sense. I think Ches makes potentially some sense. Is there anyone else right off the bat that you saw in the 6s that you said, okay, this guy is playable?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, first of all, there's a lot. This is a week where, like, I don't have a problem dipping down in this range. I mean, I think there's a lot of strong players. I think there's players who also just comp well because of the course that we got. Ches is definitely one of them. The irons are picking up. He's a straight driver. He didn't drive well last week. Of course he didn't. It's a terrible course for him. But he's been putting well too. So Ches Reavie, absolutely in play. Kind of get as wild as we want here. I mean, I'm not going to bring up Cam Champ, but I mentioned him. That's as far as we need to go. Michael Kim is a name I actually really like down here. 6,700. Everyone's kind of forgotten about him because he didn't play last week. Missed the cut at the Byron. 7th at the Wells Fargo. He's based out of Dallas. The approach game has been good all year. Michael Kim can putt too, guys. His only win came on the John Deere when, again, pure bent gas greens. He gained like 12 strokes putting for the week. I think he's a great play at 6,700. Again, I mean, the floor with Kim, from what he's shown this year, it's pretty good. You could say he's a little bit volatile, but I mean, he has not really hurt you over the last couple months outside of the Byron, but I think it's a way better setup for Michael Kim. So got a lot of time for him. He's played this course multiple times, very familiar with it. Love that. Streelman, 6,500. I think he's in play. Straight driver of the golf ball. He's played a little bit better late. The putter with Streelman is always an issue. So is around the green game, but he's not going to hurt you with the irons and the driving. If his putter shows up even a bit, certainly has played well here before too. So the kind of veteran player I'd be targeting down here.
There's definitely names. You mentioned a couple of them. I just want to give a shout out in chat to Mondo. Aaron Badley, 6-1 for a top 20. He's an around the green wizard. He's making more cuts than you would think. I don't think that's that crazy for that price, honestly. He's not someone I'm really looking at a ton in DFS, to be honest, but I think that's a pretty good call for a very sneaky play. The guy I want to pass it right back to you because, first of all, I'll save us some time. Do not play Michael Block. That would be a mistake. That's not the answer unless he gets more hole-in-ones. What do you think about Batia?
Yeah, Michael Block is playing the rake this week.
I hope he's paying a lot of rake. My worry is that like no one is going to play him for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see when we get up, like what his ownership is in the 20.
One time, let it be popular.
Just one time. 6,700 for Batia. I mean, look, I think when you're talking about Batia, it's not like, look, he missed the cut at the Heritage. This isn't what I'd call like the ideal setup for him, but we're talking about a player who is so clearly the most talented in this range.
Not even close.
Yeah, that you can just play him. So does like I
think it's a bad course for him, to be honest.
Yeah. Ches Reavie has a better chance of making the cut. I actually think that, but Batia certainly, better chance of getting a top 6 probably. It's fine. Yeah, he's 6,700. I mean, he's definitely priced too low. So I brought up Cam Champ, Batia is a better play than Cam Champ.
There's a world, I'm not sure it's this world, which is the biggest problem. There is a world where Alex Noren plays okay here. I'm just telling you right now. I have just a little. I'm not getting crazy, but no, I know Noren is broken. There's no denying it. But at the same time, he missed the cut at the Masters, at Wells Fargo, and at the PGA. Like, he also missed the Mexico, which is not good. But like some of these courses, it's just not for Noren. He played great at Valero and he played great at Houston. I'm not advocating for him, but he's in the pool. Had to get that in there. Now, so this is a name a lot of people are talking about every week there's one guy who people are talking about as like, this is the guy. And to me this week, it's Carson Young.
Ah, yes.
Carson Young, he just dusted a field at a qualifier. He's been playing pretty good. Seems like you're playing Cam Young. You're not. I have a little, but what do you make of him? He's obviously in a price range that's not normally ripe with plays.
I mean, we're getting to a point where, like if Cam Young keeps coming down and Carson Young keeps coming up, we're going to have
merge.
The C Young merge. There's going to be 2, and people are going to be emailing DraftKings, be like, "There's 2 C Youngs in the field. You guys screwed up." Anyways, Young he's fine down here, but again, I come back to, and this is what this also goes to my point. Like, there's multiple players down here we can look at, but this also goes to my point of, like, remember the course we're playing this week. It's not the U.S. Open. It's not some like public links U.S. Open qualifier. I know they don't play it at like public. I know they play it at like decent courses, but this is Colonial. Like, this is a tight setup. He's never played here before. He's seeing this venue for the first time. I bring up Kevin Tway as the Carson Young antithesis. He was good in his last start. Kevin Tway is Dallas based. If I remember, I'm pretty sure he's Texas based. He certainly played the Colonial numerous times. He's actually done really well here. He's also a player who could, score for you really good on the par 5s. I know there's only 2 of them, but I think Kevin Tway is actually interesting down here. Also think Callum Tarrant is interesting down here. Sets up really well. Iron specialist. Putting is really starting to take off. We saw Callum Tarrant go on a bit of a tear around this time last season. He's never played it either, so it's the same argument, but I do think the setup is a little bit better. So I got no problem with Young, but there are other names down here that you can play. And again, I also question, okay, he blitzed the US Open qualifier. He's playing well, sure. But if his goal is to get into the US Open and he just made the goal, now he's coming to a quirky little course where he's never played. It's an elite field. If he gets behind the 8 ball early, I'm just throwing it out there anyways. So I think I would pivot off him. I guess that's where it comes down to. I certainly like him going forward, but I wouldn't be shocked if Carson Young week just, never materialized.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, it's 6,300. You're not going to find much down here, and you can say this guy just crushed a U.S. Open qualifier. I'm playing him for that reason alone, and I think there's merit to that. Kevin Tway also, I'm like almost 100% sure he went to Oklahoma State. So
he did go to Oklahoma State, but I think he lives in Texas now.
All right, yeah. So
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
He's in the area. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I've never been either close to any of those states. So I'm not well versed in what goes on in the Midwest. One more name. Adam Long.
Ah, yes, I saw Adam Long.
Right. Yeah. Adam Long is putting out of his mind, and he does this. He gets crazy hot with the putter. Yeah. Now he's not playing well at all.
No.
And you're drawing to like gaining 30 strokes putting. He's played here 3 times and he's gained over 4 strokes putting twice.
This is my point. The good putters putt well here. I like Adam Long. I really like him, man. He just comes, and when he brings it, when his game is on, like he just goes. He doesn't slow down. He's like, I'm playing well. I'm gonna go at every pin. I'm gonna sink a bunch of putts. Sure. Look, I mean, if you're coming down here, you're already creating, a stars, like a volatile lineup. Like I'm playing for pure upside. You want Scheffler, probably sit with another big guy in or something like that, something to that effect. Adam Long, I mean, if he plays well, if his irons pick up a little bit, I mean, sure, he's got top 5 potential. We've seen him take on big names. He stared down, who did he stared down? Phil at to grab his win there at the Amex. So yeah, no, I like Adam Long. Certainly a volatile play. If the putter doesn't show up, you're dead, you're toast, but it'll probably show up. He's played here before. He's the veteran type of player we like down here. I mentioned Taryn already, so I mean, I think that's fine. But again, like Long has a little bit of experience, so I think with all these names, the one thing you can do down here is with all these names, you don't need to go like the Zach Johnson or Luke Donald route. No. I'll admit, like these guys, one of those guys could have a decent week, but I think there's enough down here where we don't need to go that route. I see some guys throwing out Lingworth in the chat. I kind of like that as well. I'd probably play them over like the Johnson and Donald plays, but Lingworth hasn't been that good lately either. So, but this is, like, I admit, like this would be a spot for David Lingworth.
There's just too many names in the sixes. You got to filter. Like chat mentioned Dylan Wu. He's down there. I think he's fine, but he didn't stand out either. I would rather play, honestly, Jez. If I had to get to any of these guys. All right. We got a couple minutes left. And yes, my geography is based in college football, so forgive me, but let's build. Jordan Klein, are you still behind the glass, or did you just leave and the show is running? We'll never be able to stop it. It looks like he's here.
I'm just gonna keep going right into whatever next week, the Memorial.
Yep, fine. The Memorial. That always. Tony Finau at the Memorial, and him and Danny Willett. I got a lot of scar tissue from those two at the Memorial. It's another story for another time. Where are we going to get things started?
All right. Oh yeah, I'm not prepared for this. Okay. Wow. Where are we going? It's a good question. Okay.
I mean, I can just put Bez in the lineup now if you want me.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just get Bez in, since I'm obviously flustered. We're both gonna try and get him in, so sure.
Yeah. Bezed and Hoot, put him on the board.
He'll be my pick. Go for it.
Okay. So you know what? Let's just live a little. Let's have some fun. If there's ever a spot where I can responsibly recommend Griot, it's this spot. He loves this course. He's playing fine. He got eaten alive by Oak Hill, and that is one of the least surprising things I've ever heard in my life. That means nothing. Him and Bez give you a million options. 1-2.
Okay. Just testing out a couple ads here and where it would leave us. I'm going to. I like Morcount. I talked him up. I'll stick with that call. I mean, I think he's fine. I think you chasing the player to me with a ton of upside. We could certainly try and go super balanced here, but again, that would either we'd be leaving a ton of salary, or we'd be dipping into the 8K range, which I don't necessarily love. I'm going to throw Morikawa in, and that'll give us a chance to dip back in that range if we want. So, but we don't have to either, Ben. It's up to you.
No, we do not. All right. So we've got Morikawa, we've got Grillo, we've got Bez. Ooh, options, decisions. I can, yeah, I can, no problem. I'm gonna put in one again. I think his most reliable play on the slate. Give me Tommy Fleetwood. We have salary. It's fine.
Yeah. This is the beauty of that 7K range. I mean,
yeah,
we can still get upside in. So I mean, we can go back here if we want. Yeah, that would work out pretty nicely. I'm gonna get my guy in because I like this play a lot. Matthew Neesmith. It's gonna get really low ownership. He's playing well, and I like this part of the country for Neesmith. I like the South. I like the course, the irons. I think he's going to come in and have a good week. He's Matthew Neesmith, 71, I think.
Yeah, so it's perfect for two different things. One, you would use, I would very much assume Harris English here, right there. You definitely have some leverage.
I would definitely put him near the top, but yeah, we can go. We like pretty much every player in this range.
I'm going Benny on. I think Benny on, when we've made a stand with a guy like Neesmith, makes a lot of sense. You could also go Smalley. I think leave 300 on the table and live a little. That range is prime for a ton of exposure, at least in my lineups. And it sounds like in yours too. So there we have it, friends. We got questions. We got answers at the Fantasy Grind, at JazzRaz DFS on Twitter. Again, long golf season. You're going to be seeing plenty of us here for Memorial next week, for Charles Schwab this week, for the PGA last week. All of you guys sticking with us. We really do appreciate it. Again, shout out to everything that we've got going on, from Rainmakers, the lineup generator, to Bet365 in the betting space. Chopper Golf's got you covered for all things betting. But we're going to bounce on out here. Me, Jordan Klein, and Jeff. Good luck, friends. Enjoy, and stop back next week. Same time, same place.